A Proposal to Die For is an arc I got approved for that comes out in April, and I initially wanted to read it because I do enjoy mysteries, and I was in a mystery kind of wanting mood. And also, the description sounded very interesting. Our main character is not a wedding planner, but like an engagement planner. She helps, you know, boyfriends curate the perfect engagement moment for their girlfriends. And an old high school, I wouldn't say friend, but acquaintance reaches out for her to do a do over because her boyfriend didn't do good enough. And they're like very rich and entitled, and this whole thing with like money and new money, old money, and entitlement, and the way you present yourself, there's a whole element there on top of a romance between our main character and one of the guys that works at this like very elite resort, like cabin in the mountains kind of lodge that they go to as a retreat to like also like plan the engagement and plan pre-wedding stuff. And there's a lot of other things that unfurl. And then obviously it's a murder mystery. And the story itself was very entertaining. It hooked me, it engaged me. However, it was doing too much. And it's weird that this happened twice this month. That like it's another book where I'm like, it was doing too much, especially with too many different genres, and it was just competing and it wasn't cohesive. Where like I think it can be cohesive because like early in this month I read a book that was a fantasy and a like Sherlock mystery, and those two wove together beautifully. But in this case, it was trying to do a romance and a mystery, and the only overlapping thing that was like kind of working between the two of them was the money aspect of it was the only shared commonality, and it felt like they were competing on their own. They each could have like it could have been great. If it was just a romance story, it would have been an excellent romance story. It had an essence of Emily Henry to it that's what caught my attention. And I think it could have been really good because it could have leaned into the whole like dynamics about wealth, the whole dynamics about how you present yourself and treat others. Like there was that whole element that could have been played, and the dynamics between her and the love interest could have been really good, except for the fact that I really hate enemies to lovers, and especially this particular brand of enemies to lovers where it's like they're not enemies. The guy's just a complete asshole, and why would you want to go for him if he's going to treat you or anyone else like that? You think he's going to get better? I don't care about some tragic backstory. He's an asshole. Hate these stories. I can go a whole tangent about that, but if you got that and had them kind of first meet on a slightly maybe like more along in Mr. Darcy's where they had a slightly wrong first impression, but they're not an asshole to you. I think like then the dynamics that came out of them could have come very naturally. It could have been really good. You already had the conflict with like her being part of this like group that are very entitled and mean, and the pettiness like that could have like the romance and that whole story plot would have felt like, very much like an Emily Henry story plot would have been really good. Or you could have cut that aspect of it and had it become an extreme subplot and focused mostly on the mystery aspect. However, as a mystery, it wasn't working because usually mysteries, you want to have the first death happen by the inciting incident, and you want it to be engaging, but it wasn't because this person is a random person that died and had no ties to them, and there was no reason for them to care about this person's death. So her caring and being involved felt very forced. You felt the author's hand forcing her to be involved until like the 70% mark did they finally have someone within their own party die and care. So like I think it needed to be reconfigured where like either it needed to be someone that they care about died, or they were in lockdown, and all of a sudden like she's like, I need to get this engagement done, and like her entire focus could be on doing this, not caring about anyone else because she's zeroed in and kind of become part of that world. And through like her interaction with the guy like steadily regains her humanity. Like it could have been something like that, and like her just trying to like figure out the like murder mystery so then they can just move on with the engagement could be a whole thing. So the point of this is that I think the story is really entertaining. I think you could enjoy it. I think it could have been stronger though if it leaned more one genre or the other. I think a romance still could have existed in the mystery part, but I don't think you needed the murder mystery with this particular style of romance. It just wasn't cohesive. It was like oil and water. It felt like two stories smashed together. So I think it could have been better. So it was like once again another story I'm like disappointed because I think it could have been better if it was just tweaked a little bit at the fundamental level kind of thing. But yeah, this, yeah, it was good. It was good. It was entertaining. I would still recommend it to people to read. I just isn't going to be something I'm like, oh God, I want to reread that a year later. It was entertaining.